Hello people of the internet, it's a boy, Skinny Penis, with another replay review. We had a good game in Piemonte, so we can talk a bit about it, you know. Obviously it's arms race, a bit of an inflated damage, but pretty fun to see Super Cruiser fucking on unsuspecting and poor tier 9s in arms race again. Definitely definitely a good idea from Wargaming to put tier 9s into super ship matchmaking, even though super shits, you could call them, already fap on tier 10s like it's nothing, but hey, I guess we free farm. So yeah, Piemonte now released. Interestingly enough, shit out pretty fucking fast after release and testing and stuff. I don't know how they think they don't need to test these ships further. Also, lots of people got it, especially in our team. It's like 3 people got it, like I think Bison, Arthur, and I. In case, or our idea was like in case in CBs, if they limit Annapolis, because Annapolis is like nearly 90% pick rate at this stage. So if they limit it, the next ship in line would probably be Piemonte, because Zorki is kind of meh. The only, because like Zorki would definitely suffer playing against Piemonte, heavily suffer actually with the SAP. You also pen 60 by the way, so the Zorki plating is whatever. And maybe the only thing that you could play afterwards in CBs is a Super BB, like I don't know, Hanover then, because Patrie once again would heavily suffer against Pimo. So that's why we got it, and I was really surprised that it's very cheap, 240 million, but I think they had a higher number of ships. Yeah, but otherwise I wouldn't have bet on it, or like a bid. I wouldn't have given a bid there, if not for CBs potentially. But at least I can play it already. Quite the disgusting cruiser, and you will see that most likely people that play it Venezia and Permacite already, they're gonna love this ship, and they're going to be an even bigger pain in the ass because this thing has armor, actual armor, and way more cringe sap because of the higher penetration. As you can see here at range, you pen essentially like every deck, and your volleys are sometimes just immensely disgusting. Talking about 15k, 17k volleys all the fucking time. And yeah, well, I played Lighthouse build here because essentially you can play Venezia Lighthouse now easily with the ledge mod because you get so many smokes. But you can also play Piemonte Lighthouse without such a ledge mod because it just has the armor. And personally, I like the fact that it has armor anyway because it gives me another opportunity to kinda impact the game by just being like a punching bag from time to time. Meaning I do bounce a lot of AP since it doesn't overmatch 40mm, and I do shatter a lot of HE since it doesn't pen 40mm, so you can actually tank quite casually. And I really like the gameplay. Like, sure, you will kite a lot in it because obviously you don't have radar or hydro, but you can also play it extremely aggressive. And in this game, for example, given the fact we're playing against tier 9s on this flank, very little DPM here, honestly. The only thing I have to make sure, if you look at the minimap or like the matchmaking, we have the tier 9 division. There's lots of divisions in the enemy team, but we have the SBG division. Decent players, so they're not gonna like randomly int. You will also see that this Fans Bijik is trying to kill me for the entire game, but he's not really going to succeed. Even when I fuck it up, he can't kill me, really. I mean, you have 66k base HP, 40mm armor, a smoke to go dark in. You have torpedoes, you have heals, like, and your sap just slaps everything. But yeah. I try to play it pretty aggressive if I can. Because it doesn't suffer through the 30 overmatch bullshit, which means, and it also doesn't get penned, for example, here by Van Spijik or Illinois HE. Like, those people don't pen me. They only get superstructure pens, nose or ass. But the overall HE DPM I have to eat is very little. And yeah, if I would aim properly here, you can essentially take like 7-8k out of any sort of cruiser at any angle, any range, if you just aim properly and the dispersion plays with you. But yeah, I can just park him here, and he has to give up fighting me way earlier. It's arms race. Obviously, since it's going to be a lot of damage, a lot of kill game, means that the other side of our team fucked it, and the enemy team got a lot of buffs. The only thing that saves us in this game, for example, is the double heal early. Allows me and Bison, who's in my div, to essentially recuperate so much HP over that 10-15 minutes that we have like an additional 1 or 2 heals. Like a lot of HP that you get, and here actually the Wami gets fairly lucky now that I see it. hitting me for nearly 20k, even though I'm perfectly angled. I mean, obviously something like that happens. What I figured in the 6 games that I already played it in is it's not a Napoli. It's like a weird combination of a Napo and a Venezia. It's like you get the SAP, you get a really, really cringe and potent SAP, and you get some gimmicks of the Napoli armor, like the 40mm for example, but the ship doesn't possess the funny Napoli turtleback and spaced armor, or whatever the fuck it is on Napo. It's not as thick, and it's not as, what's it called? It's not as angled, the turtleback. So what you will see in the end is, when I try to rush the Van Spijik, it can actually citadel you. And that ship actually eats citadels way more casually or common than, or it's way more common to eat a citadel in this ship than in Napoli. So while the armor is insanely improved and also just working perfectly and great, because I said, like, it's 40mm, so it's obviously better than 90% of the cruisers these days with 0 armor. This is like a proper heavy cruiser. Like if I turn flat to a battleship, I've done that multiple times already. You eat citadels, you get fucked. But overall, the tankiness is exactly what you need for something that doesn't have hydro or radar and plays off its guns. You can have at least some tankiness, which is great. As you can see here, dude, you just slap people for 10 million damage. It's insane. Obviously, we're running Sansonetti, something you should 100% do on this ship. You can also, by the way, play it non-Lighthouse. It's really cringe with non-Lighthouse because you can really just not force the kill on it because the concealment is decent. It's like Ven Conceal, but obviously with the armor and HP. So playing it Lighthouse is just an opportunity here because you get like 15%. I think it's 15% sub damage extra. And top grade gunner is perma-procced, which is overall then 23% better DPM. And you can definitely play it, like it's easier to play in Lighthouse spec than the other cruisers like Clausewitz Conde, or like the tier 10 cruisers, Hindenburg, Venezia, whatever the fuck, because you have a smoke. I mean, never mind, like Venezia is also easy to play in Lighthouse because you have the smokes, which means you can go in and you can always gamer turn out, and that's like the biggest problem of Lighthouse builds. People don't get into a decent position. And even if you know what you're doing, it's still not easy to get a great position every single game. I mean, because you're spotted from the moon. Like the DD just moving in towards a cap will immediately spot you. And you have trouble getting into a kited position or a forward position. But with this ship, since you have the smoke, it's actually perfect. You can just use your first smoke on lots of maps to go deep, keep the smoke, and then when you turn out closer to the enemy, you can pop it. Gotta remember though that the ship has insanely dogshit smoke fire detection. It's even worse than Venezia. Venezia has 9.9, this one has 11.2 or so, 11.3, 11.2 I think it is. So yeah, you can't really randomly shoot in your smoke while turning, because it's a pretty large circle of random destroyer positions that could then suddenly spot you. I gotta be careful there. Otherwise, I'm personally not a fan of this ship to being introduced to World of Warships, just because people will play it like absolutely brain damaged abominations. They will just permakite with it and not have impact. They will just be annoying. So yeah, and you will not be able to kill it, as I said, because of the armor and the smokes. Additionally, like if even if you get a lot of damage, he just pops smoke and gets so much cooldown off his heal that he will be back with like a free heal essentially. He gets time for a free heal in the smoke. I know why it's not really that cool or great, but it's fun to play if you actually play it aggressive. But we all know that people won't do that really. They haven't done it with Napoli, they haven't done it with Venezia. If people always love kiting, they will kite in this one too. They won't change their gameplay. It's something that works for them, the kiting, because they stay alive longer, they deal more damage than they did before. So then they're like stuck on some weird drug that they will always keep inhaling, which is the kite. The permakite to the border, and whatever happens, happens. But yeah, it's sad, but I mean, the gimmick package of this ship, or generally Italian cruisers, is the smoke, and the smoke is supposedly great for aggressive plays. But yeah, people don't want to learn how to actually play the game. They rather kite and do nothing. So what's funny here is, like, now you will see how brain damaged this cruiser is at trading against other cruisers. Like, it's actually disgusting. As I said, you don't get penned by a lot of HE. And it's also, I mean, it's not that easy at range for cruisers to sit you. I mean, a Novosibirsk would probably smash me flat. But you can see here, like, I'm going to give him 2 volleys, and he loses more than 30k HP for that. And that is just fucking disgusting. Like, that is nearly 30k HP removed from him. And it's also pen damage. Like, he won't be able to heal all of it. So, the ship is actually also very great at fighting certain broken ships. Like, it slaps Petro, it slaps Novosibirsk, it slaps the Russian cruisers. It also fucks with the super heals of, like, Vincent and stuff. So, like, overall, the ship is just great at dealing with, let's say, pesky broken ships that were designed to withstand something like a Venezia, maybe. But they can't deal with this SAP. Because what happens here is the SAP actually pens more than 60mm base. And now you can, for example, see the interaction between Napoli, Venezia, and then Piemonte. Napoli has 60 sides. So theoretically, in a Napoli, you could go flap broadside to Venezia SAP, and he wouldn't penetrate your upper belt. Because he doesn't have the penetration on the SAP. And then it also doesn't matter what angle he gives you. If you don't have the pen on the SAP, it doesn't matter the angle check afterwards. Like, we all know that SAP penetrates at like 70 degrees, 75 degree, 90 degree, whatever the fuck. It's like crazy depending on the ship. Also, SAP does have do be having overmatch. Like, I think I overmatch light cruisers like Minnow. They couldn't angle against me in SAP either. But I mean, it doesn't matter, because if I get overmatch on the SAP, I also have overmatch on the AP, which is actually fucking extremely nice on the ship. You get 4 Napoli guns, kind of, and your AP is also that strong. Like, you do have the caliber, you do have the penetration, you do have the arcs. Like, your AP, like Venezia AP is garbage. It's like on the same level as Zhao. It just has shittier dispersion. So it's not really that great of AP unless you see like a Des Moines or Moskva flap broadside. You're not gonna like, or Minnow, you're not gonna like magically citadel all these new cruisers like Marseille or Napo. Also, like the super cruisers like Annapolis and Conde, you have a really hard time sitting them in Venezia and Zhao, for example. But with Napoli, or like now Piemonte, you have insane AP penetration, and therefore you can smash people. And because like it works in this way, like you have overmatch on SAP, but that doesn't have any impact on the penetration. You have a set penetration on the SAP, and if the plating you hit has or is pennable, then it checks for the angle, and if the angle is fine, then you penetrate. Which, by the way, also means close up, you're not going to penetrate the battleship platings, deck and side of heavy battleships. But if you're at range, you can penetrate through Kreml and GK deck, because your shells come in at an angle from the sky, or like they'll arc into the deck, and then the angle is enough to penetrate, because it's like, I don't know, probably like around 80, 90 degree or something. I don't fucking know. Haven't looked it up, but it's kind of like Venezia. So here I baited that I go around the outside, so the Van Spijik turned in, and actually he did, and here you see he can actually citadel me. You saw that volley? It was like nearly 30k. I personally thought it was like Napoli armor. Only after this game I checked it, and it definitely isn't Napoli armor. So he actually citadels me here. He also has insane buffs. So what I do here is obviously I try to sap him as fast as possible. I mean, my sap damage is crazy, but I don't hit... he fucks his salvo here. I don't hit the second torp, so he lives, but I reload faster than he does. Slightly faster, so he dies, and I don't have to eat another volley. That was really close, and definitely if he would have hit the third volley properly, maybe, or would have waited with it, he could have probably killed me here. I was very lucky. But now we can also see that you completely and utterly ruin destroyers. Like, this is disgusting, and that was only 5 out of 12 shells. Like, you can death strike DDs at that range. If my dispersion or aim, whatever you want to call it here, would have been better, I would have smashed through that guy in one volley. And yeah, you can just keep pushing. He obviously drops a nice smoke here. Something like light cruisers, or let's say properly fucked against you, because you don't only penetrate them everywhere with SAP. Like, your SAP overmatches 60mm, so you penetrate at any angle really, but also your AP overmatches, so like something like a Smolensk, a Colbert, a Minotaur really don't want to fight you. The only thing that, for example, like something like a Minnow has going for it is that your angles while pushing for the back guns are pretty shit, so he can penetrate your side plating like fully all the time. And you could lose a lot of HP there. But in the end, like 66k HP with heals, Nah. Like, you're literally a menace for light cruisers. You're a menace for like most cruisers. Cruiser 1v1s are definitely where you dominate, because you just have the armor. You have the hard slapping penetration with saps, and cruisers don't have the armor to essentially properly angle against you and tank you really. So I'm like, look here, like just aim for the unsaturated nose, just smash him fully. Like, it's crazy, man. This sap is just disgusting. Obviously, or surely we're running like some buffs here. We don't have like all the buffs, but obviously it helps massively with this ship. If you get arms race, it's like any ship just gets toxically broken, especially like super cruisers. If you get like a few arms race buffs, like a reload buff on a super cruiser or a heal buff on a Zorki, for example, like you never kill that Zorki. Double heal on a Zorki, for example, nah, the fucker will live forever. He will just spam you with AFT, and even if you get a 10k hit, well, it takes him a few minutes, but then he's back to his original HP just through the arms race buff here. You always got to remember that the heal buffs are nuts for carriers and DDs, decent for cruisers, shit for battleships, doesn't really matter. HP and heals are not really like massively broken on the battleships. They thankfully adjusted the parameters per class. But something like, for example, reload or alpha strike damage buff is crazy on battleships, and still helps the others. Like obviously like an alpha DPM buff isn't like that great for the gun DD. He'd rather have a reload buff for more fires, because he doesn't penetrate a lot and he saturates superstructure fast. It's like, depends on the ship what buffs you want, but in general having like heal buffs early on cruiser or DD is just crazy, and it's also what saved the game here, kind of, that we got at least 2 heal buffs early. And yeah, obviously also that Bison plays a Smaland, and I actually have some sort of spotter around me that can play the game more objective and for spotting and for DD fights, because I'm a Lighthouse, Piemonte, like everyone sees me coming from 10 million miles away. Yeah. Is the ship broken is probably the question. I mean, it's a super cruiser, it's broken, like all the super cruisers are busted. But it's not the level of broken that a Conde or an Annapolis provides you, really. It's close, though. It's really close. Like, there is no argument if just play a Venezia. Nah, it's like not. Like, this thing here is 10 times better than a Ven. Like, the sub penetration and the armored combined are just like exactly making you what you should have been in the first place. Like a heavy cruiser with functioning and actual armor that slaps Alpha Strike sap volleys around. It's a pain in the ass to play against, but to be fair, there's worse super ships out there, like the super carriers or like a Conde. Funnily enough, this ship here actually counters Conde and Annapolis quite well. At least if you don't run a Lighthouse spec. I mean, with Lighthouse spec, you can still fuck them up pretty bad. But yeah, playing it with concealment is generally more advisable, especially for solo play. I mean, we're currently, as I said, compensating here with having a Smaland in the div, because then you can fully unlock the autism. And well, I went dark here, by the way. So DD's behind the island, and now I try to catch him. And as you will see, we will catch him, and we will earn ourselves a nice little death strike, because the Sap Alpha is just so disgusting that destroyers can't fuck up anymore. It's actually worse than a Venezia to play against. I feel like, I mean, sure, Venezia can slap you hard, but I think shell travel time and arcs are even better here, and obviously the alpha of every gun, because you have a higher caliber, and like this guy is just yeah, gone. Like 6 penetrations were enough, okay, given we have a double damage buff, but I would have hit enough shells to kill him probably anyways. Like 8 shells, 9 shells would have been required even without the damage buffs, and I hit that. So what do we end up with here? 348. Essentially just like spamming sap at people, which is funny because you deal that kind of damage without any sort of fires. I mean, I don't even know where the fire came from. Probably secondary hits here. But because I was asked, like, it doesn't have good secondaries. It looks like a Napo, but the secondaries are just like put on there as like an aesthetic kind of gimmick or whatever. We're running like nearly 4K base, 3897, which is pretty nice, but it mainly comes from me fapping on cruisers and one-shotting 2 destroyers. And as you could see here in the enemy team, like, there's no real battleship that ever tanks me. Like, as long as I'm far enough away, I can essentially pen every sort of BB deck. because they have more than 60 penetration, and German BBs have like 50, 60. Kreml has 50, has 60. Yamato has like 50 something. So as long as I'm far enough away, I even noticed it. Like if you're close to these ships, like a Yamato or a Kreml, you obviously don't get the angle into their deck to pen. But the moment you're like 15 kilometers, 14 kilometers away, you suddenly 12, 13k them fully angled when your shells hit their deck, which is quite funny. So also that's mainly an argument why like there shouldn't be any sort of argument if it's better than a Venezia. It's straight up 10 times better, because you like SAP functions in a way, either your SAP is really great against the ship or it sucks cock. There is no in between really. So Venezia SAP has big time problems against well armored ships to ever deal damage. It's like nearly impossible to deal damage to specific platings. Just because you don't have the penetration. So with this ship getting over 60 millimeters of SAP pen, you suddenly unlock like all ships. Like you're always viable. Not in every situation, obviously. As I said, if you're close, you still have issues. But like that's the problem with Ven. If I have a Kreml in front of me, I don't deal damage. If I have a Kreml Preußen or so on my flank, that's two battleships that I can only pen on superstructure really, or nose and ass, which is very hard to hit. With this ship, I just fucking point and click these people, and I grief them for like 50, 60k and like, I don't know, 4 or 5 volleys. Like it's crazy. And also, obviously, the best part about it is you can just sit kited in front of a Preußen or a Kreml and they don't overmatch you. Though, be careful that the ass is actually even weaker than the Napoli ass, and your ass is really just the weak point. Like, if you're close to people, it's kind of like Loria, you don't want to kite out close to someone. You just stay nose in, essentially, and rush them or ram them or whatever the fuck. But, like, showing your ass at below, like, 6 km against heavy ships is probably your demise. You just blow up. As you can see here, Tier 9s obviously have like essentially zero chance. Like the Van Spijik played it properly and super cautious, used all his heals, and I even fucked it next to him, flap broadside. Was he able to kill me? No. Like I can literally be a drooling fucking gnome or cave troll, and I will still fuck him up massively. That's how unbalanced it kind of is. Otherwise, you can see here the DDs were the ones that I fapped on, and obviously something like Iwami's, Illinois, 38, 32 platings, you just shit 10k volleys into them every single fucking time. Damage received, obviously a bit inflated because of the double heal, but you can see like you can burn through all your heals, you can stay alive. If it gets dicey, you pop a smoke. You run away a bit further, becomes even harder to force the kill on you. So even with Lighthouse spec, you can tank and tank and tank. I mean, potential damage 3.1 million, damage taken 126. I think it's a nicely designed cruiser, maybe a bit overtuned with the reload. Like, I mean, I think its base reload of Ven 21 seconds. So maybe it should have been 23 seconds, probably 23 or something, like a bit higher reload. But then again, you probably won't notice that it's like really strong, or like way stronger than Ven in randoms, because the people playing it will just blow up flat broadside or not do anything and AFK around. So the reload is just something that makes people that know how to play more aggressive or as a division and like actually play for objectives closer to enemies. It will make those people insanely busted because the reload is pretty decently fast. And yeah, obviously, as I said, you can increase the damage by 23%. You can get 8% from top grade all the time with Lighthouse and 15% SAP damage. I think it's 15, right? Maybe it's 10. I don't fucking know. I don't play Lighthouse specs a lot. But yeah, the Alpha Strike also obviously being, you have to play it a bit different. Like you can't really go for permanent farm on people for like, the best impact you can find with these ships is try to get the Alpha Strike out at the right moment. And as I mentioned earlier, you don't only have the SAP that fucks people up, and especially DDs, you also have the AP that can then delete flap broadside cruisers pretty badly if you catch them, like Des Moines, Moskva, even Zaus, anything like cruiser related. You can just blow them up heavily with AP too. So yeah, overall, just a crazy ship, and probably play it a bit more. Mainly only in division. I don't really like to play cruisers solo without hydro or radar because I'm, let's say, very gimped in my impact if my destroyers are inting, and currently they are inting too much. Also, no, if I have no radar on my team, it's even worse. Or a carrier that spots whatever the fuck it should be. But yeah, that's it for Piemonte. Probably I'm going to make another video playing it, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, check it out when it gets released. I mean, you just gotta be patient if you don't have it now. As I said, I personally wouldn't have bet on it, or wouldn't have given a bid there, a very high one. I would have just waited. But that's it, and see you in the next video, and hope you enjoyed it.